this tweet by the Iranian Foreign Minister, Zarif, on John Bolton is certainly getting a lot of attention this morning. He says, having failed to lure President Trump into war of the century and fearing collapse of his team, Ambassador Bolton is turning his venom against the UK in hopes of dragging it into a quagmire. That back and forth continues. Joining us now, counsel to the president, Kellyanne Conway. Kellyanne, good morning to you.
Good morning.
The tensions with Iran continue to escalate this morning. What is the latest from the president on that?
Well, the president's made very clear even in his tweets this morning how he feels about the developments. We also know that Iran's malign behavior cannot continue. And the president, the secretary of state, and others have made that very clear. Iran has a history of lying, and the president flatly denies their claims that they've disrupted a CIA ring. And I need to leave it at that because we cannot comment further on intelligence matters.
Okay. What do you, in a general sense, make of the constant provocation, the back and forth? As I just mentioned a moment ago, it seems like it goes higher by the day as opposed to backing away. Your sense of that is what, Kellyanne?
Well, let's back up and let's see that this president won on and has governed according to his explicit promise and the delivery on that promise to pull this nation out of what he saw as a horrible Iran nuclear deal. The last administration was much friendlier toward and much accommodating of Iran and its malign behavior. So from day one, this president has been very clear and resolute in taking action and pulling us out of that nuclear deal and making very clear that we will defend our friends in the region, most explicitly our best ally, Israel.
The president continues.
That can't make Iran happy. That can't make Iran happy that we are exporting energy around the world. It can't make them happy that they can't rely upon these pallets of cash and a bad deal. And a different administration as goes the Iranian regime. And let me just again repeat, I can't go further on intelligence matters, but I would point you to the comments of our Commander-in-Chief and President Donald Trump and Secretary Pompeo. They've been very explicit very recently on this very issue.
All right. And we did hear from Secretary of State Mike Pompeo this morning. The president, as you mentioned, tweeted as well. Want to move on to this back and forth with the so-called squad and President Trump. This morning, the president tweeted, quote, I don't believe the 4 congresswomen are capable of loving our country. They should apologize to America and Israel for the horrible, hateful things that they have said. They are destroying the Democrat Party, but are weak and insecure people who can never destroy our great nation. Does it behoove the president to continue to take on these 4 Democratic congresswomen in such a direct way, Kellyanne?
I've been taking on these congresswomen for a while on policy and will continue to do so. I was one of the earliest and loudest voices calling out that the 4 of them were the only 4 in the entire Congress to vote against any type of humanitarian aid for the border. That is a disgrace. That was a wrong vote. Every Democrat voted for one form or the other of the humanitarian aid package. 95 only did not vote for the $4.6 billion that is now working at the border. I was down there last week. Our CPB tells us that that is actually working. It's why we've been able to reduce the number of unaccompanied children. We've been able to have more space, many more needs met and accommodated for the unaccompanied children and for the families that are together. I witnessed it firsthand down at the Donna Center near McAllen, Texas. So I've been attacking them on policy and will continue to because nobody fact checks them. Why is the adoring media so afraid of these women who have made such strong anti-Semitic, anti-Israel comments, sponsored the anti-BDS, which really is another way of being anti-Semitic.
But the president is taking them directly on. And as Nancy Pelosi herself has even said, these are 4 members of Congress. And the president continues.
They took her on the week before. But Sandra, we're all old enough to remember 10 days ago when the Democrats were eating their own, when Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's chief of staff, in a tweet that he's now taken down, likened the Democratic leadership to segregationists, that she doubled down this week back at home, going right up against the Department of Homeland Security. It should be abolished. All 250,000 of its employees, the people who keep us all safe and secure, including her, FEMA, Secret Service, Customs and Border Protection, ICE. I mean, that is not. I'm going to speak out against that every single day. In last week's press conference, Ilhan Omar literally said, and let me just quote her because nobody fact checks these people. They are 4 Pinocchios walking around at all times. Quote, President Trump is pursuing an agenda to allow millions of Americans to die from a lack of health care. What does that mean? What is she talking about? Not a single person has called her out. They're tougher on presidential aides and associates than they are on members of Congress who have sworn an oath to the Constitution. They want to fundamentally change the way this country is. Green New Deals, socialist economies, get rid of DHS, get rid of ICE. Don't even allow sanctuary cities to share information about criminals. This is not America. We cannot be an open borders, anti-law enforcement country that is built on the rule of law. So I will challenge anybody on policies. They denied humanitarian aid, and they're trying to abolish our law enforcement.
We want to ask you about Mueller. Before we do that, here's one more challenge. Ocasio-Cortez at a town hall about the allegations of racism back and forth.
Once you start telling American citizens to, quote, go back to your own countries, this tells you that this president's policies are not about immigration, it's about ethnicity and racism. His biggest mistake was that he said the quiet part loud. That was his biggest mistake, because we know that he's been thinking this the entire time.
I want to get your reaction on that, Kellyanne.
Yeah, well, she's the one who referred to Nancy Pelosi pretty much as a racist. She started that argument internally. It sounds like she just wants to call everybody that when she doesn't get her way. She got her way in denying the great people of New York City 25,000 or so Amazon jobs. She got her way getting people to buy into this ridiculous Green New Deal that when put to an actual vote in the Senate got 0 votes. This is not a sign for A-OK. That's 0 votes. You saw those blind quotes last week about her from Democrats saying she's a joke, she has no power, they don't know anything, people are tired of all the star power and no substance. And then the not-so-blind quotes from the likes of Representative Gregory Meeks, the likes of Representative William Lacey Clay. These are esteemed, respected, long-time serving members and members of the Congressional Black Caucus pushing back at Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez 10, 12 short days ago, Bill and Sandra, for saying that, for basically saying Nancy Pelosi was a racist, that she was targeting them because they're women of color. So that internecine war, by the way, people are saying, oh, President Trump wants these 4 to be the face of the Democratic Party. You know who else does? Those 4 do. They're loving their time in the spotlight. And I could attack them more on policy, but they've been here for 6 months. I can't exactly pull what they said 2 years ago as chairmen of committee. They haven't been. But I'm always going to defend the flag, defend law enforcement, defend our great country, our great men and women in uniform. Those people always vote against equipping our military with what they need, equipping our Customs and Border Protection. I was there. These people they're diving into the river to save other people's kids.
Well, the attention is on them. The attention's on them today.
And
the attention will be on Robert Mueller on Wednesday. Your thoughts, Robert Mueller, less than 48 hours from now. How does that day change things?
Well, I want the taxpayers to see the way the Democratic Congress is spending their money day in and day out. A do-over of the do-over, the do-over. Director Mueller made clear in late May in his own press conference that his report is his testimony. And I saw just yesterday Democratic Congresswoman quoted as saying, well, I just want Mueller to read from his own report. Ladies and gentlemen, taxpayers, you're paying for this nonsense. The same Congress that won't fix asylum, won't fix TVPRA, that traffics kids, won't fix the Flores decision, won't fix infrastructure, won't reduce drug prices and work with us across the aisle, won't put the USMCA to a vote, which we hope they do in the summer or fall. The same Congress that won't do that is spending your money. They work for you. This is your money. You already paid for the Mueller report and the Mueller investigation. Now they want Bob Mueller. They want to drag him before Congress and have him read out loud. Bob Mueller, book on tape, courtesy of the taxpayer? I don't think so. They also think you're stupid, America, that you can't read the report for yourselves. And so they want to drag him there, trying to get more. Yesterday, for the chairman of the Judiciary Committee to go on your network and say that there is evidence of high crimes and misdemeanors, that is not something Bob Mueller put in his report. That is not something Attorney General Barr said. That is not something we're going to follow on Wednesday.
All right. Listen, thank you for your time. We are well out of time. I hope you come back soon, and we'll see what happens on Wednesday together. You bet. Kellyanne Conway, thank you for the North Lawn.